Hello,
Hello, my
everyone, and
fellow
I'm thrilled to
Americans and
have you
friends
here
from
on my
around the
channel.
world.
This
I'm
space
glad
is
you're here
all about
because today
exploring
you're about to hear a
fascinating
story
topics in
that will
detail,
not
from
just
history and
surprise you,
current
it's
affairs
going to
to
challenge
personal growth,
everything you thought you knew
motivation, and
about
much more.
progress, development, and what it takes to lift a nation from the shadows of poverty into the bright light of prosperity. Now, let's start with something that might sound almost laughable at first. An animal the world has dismissed for centuries. An animal we've seen in cartoons as stubborn, in farm fields as a slow worker, and in history books as a simple beast of burden. The donkey. Yes, the humble donkey. The animal that in many places is just another part of the scenery. It's loaded with heavy sacks. It's shouted at. It's pushed around. Nobody takes a picture of a donkey and says, there's the future of our economy. Nobody, until a leader with vision came along and proved that sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight.
In a small West African country called Burkina Faso, a place that for decades the world barely mentioned except in lists of the poorest nations, something extraordinary began to happen. This country is rich in gold. It grows cotton, and yet its people have long been struggling, surviving day to day, often seen by the outside world through the lens of pity and charity. But one man decided that enough was enough. He would not wait for foreign aid. He would not wait for some outside savior. He would look within his own country, his own resources, his own people, and he would build prosperity with what they already had.
And what they had in every home, every village, every patch of farmland was the donkey.
Now, most leaders would have ignored that. After all, in the minds of the world's elite, the donkey is hardly a strategic resource. But this leader had something they didn't, the ability to see value where others saw none. And it all began with a glass of milk.
On a diplomatic visit to a European country, he was served a drink. Curious, he asked what it was. The answer, donkey milk. Not cow's milk, not goat's milk, donkey milk. The locals spoke about it with pride. They called it healthy, healing, rich in protein, and good for the body in ways modern science was just beginning to confirm. Now, for many of us in America, milk is milk. But in Europe, in high-end markets, donkey milk is known as liquid gold. The price per gallon isn't just a little higher, it's astronomical compared to regular milk. Wealthy consumers pay top dollar for it, not just for drinking, but for skin care, cosmetics, and even medical treatments. In fact, history records that Cleopatra, the legendary queen of Egypt, bathed in donkey milk to keep her skin youthful and radiant. The ancient Romans used it for medicinal purposes. And today, in upscale boutiques from Paris to Los Angeles, you can find creams, serums, and soaps made with donkey milk selling for hundreds of dollars a jar. When this leader heard that, a light went on in his mind. His country didn't have oil wells like Saudi Arabia. It didn't have massive factories like China, but it had donkeys, and plenty of them. If Europe and America were paying millions for donkey milk and its products, why couldn't Burkina Faso be the one to supply it? Why couldn't this humble animal, dismissed by the world, become the engine of a new national economy?
So he returned home with a mission, not a charity plan, not a dependency plan, a business plan.
The first step was research. Scientists were brought in to study the health benefits of donkey milk in detail, and the results were nothing short of astonishing. Donkey milk contains omega-3 fatty acids that help fight heart disease. It's loaded with calcium and nutrients that strengthen bones. It has natural anti-inflammatory properties, making it a treatment for allergies and respiratory issues. And it's gentle enough for infants who can't tolerate cow's milk. But that was just the beginning. This milk wasn't just food, it was medicine. It was beauty. It was wellness. And in the right hands, it could be wealth. The second step was infrastructure. Factories were built to collect, pasteurize, and package donkey milk to meet international health and safety standards. These weren't makeshift sheds. These were world-class facilities capable of producing exports that could compete in the most demanding global markets.
The third step was education. Farmers who had been raising donkeys in the old ways were trained in modern animal care, nutrition, and breeding. They learned how to keep the animals healthy, how to maximize milk yield, and how to treat them not as tools, but as valuable assets. And this is where the change became truly revolutionary. Because when you teach people the value of what they already have, you ignite pride, ownership, and ambition.
The project also placed women at the center of the operation.
In many rural areas, women handle the care of livestock. By giving them the tools, training, and access to markets, this leader ensured that women could become independent earners, building businesses of their own. In a country where poverty had kept many trapped, this was nothing short of transformative.
Soon the ripple effects began. Villages that had been dark at night because no one could afford electricity started to light up. Families who had struggled to send their children to school now had the means to buy books, uniforms, and supplies. Roads were repaired, wells were dug, and small businesses began to open, and all of it was powered, quite literally, by donkey milk.
Now, to my fellow Americans listening, this is where the lesson hits home for us too, because the spirit behind this transformation is the same spirit that built our own nation. Our history is filled with stories of people who took what little they had and turned it into greatness. Farmers who built towns, miners who built cities, inventors who started in barns and garages and changed the world. The moral is simple. You don't wait for permission to succeed. You don't wait for someone else to hand you the tools. You use what you have right where you are, and you make it work.
What happened in Burkina Faso wasn't about discovering something new. It was about rediscovering the value of something old. And in that rediscovery, an entire nation found a path forward.
But the vision didn't stop with milk. This leader understood that to truly lift a nation, you must build industries, not just sell products. So the donkey milk became the foundation for a thriving cosmetic sector, soaps, lotions, and beauty treatments that were natural, chemical-free, and highly sought after in international markets. Pharmaceutical companies began placing orders for donkey milk components to use in specialized treatments.
Suddenly, this small African nation wasn't just an exporter of raw goods, it was a producer of high-value products. And that is the difference between staying poor and becoming prosperous. Any country can sell raw materials, but the wealth comes when you control the entire process, from production to packaging to branding to export. That's how you keep the profits at home. And that's exactly what was happening. For years, Africa has been seen by much of the world as a place to extract resources from oil, minerals, crops, ship them out, process them elsewhere, and sell them back at higher prices. But here was an African nation saying, no more. We will not just dig gold from our ground and watch it leave. We will not just grow cotton for someone else's clothing empire. We will create, process, brand, and sell our own products to the world.
My friends, that is self-reliance, that is dignity, and that is exactly the kind of mindset America was built on.
The results spoke for themselves. Employment soared. Rural poverty rates began to drop. Young people who had been leaving for the cities, or worse, risking dangerous journeys to other countries, started to see a future in their own hometowns. And the outside world began to take notice. News outlets that had once ignored Burkina Faso were now running features about its donkey milk revolution. Economists were calling it a model for sustainable development. And here's the part that should make all of us think. This entire transformation didn't require foreign armies, massive oil fields, or billion-dollar bailouts. It required vision, it required leadership, and it required the courage to believe that something small could become something great.
That is a lesson we need to remember here in the United States. In our rush to look for the next big thing, the next massive breakthrough, we sometimes overlook the opportunities right in front of us. We forget that greatness often begins in the humblest places.
This story from Africa is more than a story about milk. It's about mindset. It's about what happens when a nation decides it will no longer be defined by its struggles, but by its solutions. And so as you listen to this, think about what you have in your own hands, your own community, your own country. What are we ignoring that could be our next source of strength? What talents, resources, or traditions have we written off as outdated or worthless, when in reality they could be the key to a brighter future? Because the truth is, progress doesn't always come from skyscrapers and supercomputers. Sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places, even the back of a humble donkey. So to everyone watching, remember this: the power to change a nation, a community, or even your own life often begins with seeing value where others see none. And when you have the courage to act on that vision, the world will take notice.
If this story inspired you, if it made you think differently about what's possible, then I invite you to be part of this journey. Subscribe to this channel, share this video, and let's keep telling the stories that remind us all that the American spirit of innovation and self-reliance is alive and well. And it's not just in America, it's in the human spirit everywhere.
Because whether it's in the farmlands of Burkina Faso or the heartland of the United States, the message is the same. Don't wait for someone else to build your future. Build it yourself with what you have, where you are, right now. And never underestimate the power of something or someone the world has overlooked.